Hello and welcome to BYJU'S Exam Prep IAS. Welcome to our Prelims Daily Quiz. If you're finding our initiatives to be helpful, you know what to do. Just like the video, share your comments, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button. So let's get started with the daily quiz for today. The first question: which amongst the given states have introduced an anti-lynching bill to deal with mob lynchings and hate crimes? Is it Karnataka or Maharashtra or Manipur or Rajasthan? Amongst the given options, Manipur and Rajasthan have introduced an anti-lynching bill to deal with mob lynchings and hate crimes. So the correct answer is option D, 3 and 4 only. See, in the last few years, 4 state governments have introduced anti-lynching bills and they have been enacted by their respective state legislatures. This includes Manipur, Rajasthan, and as well as West Bengal and Jharkhand. As mob lynching incidents went up around the country in the last few years, and as a number of hate crimes were being reported against minorities, several states considered introducing a separate legislation to deal with these specific crimes, and hence they introduced the anti-lynching bills. But however, the implementation of these state laws have been put on hold by the centre, as the union government has argued that lynching is not defined as a crime under the Indian Penal Code. The Home Ministry informed the Parliament in 2019 that there was no separate definition for lynching under the IPC, and also added that such lynching incidents which involved mob violence and hate crimes, they could be dealt with under existing provisions of IPC such as sections 300 and 302 which pertain to murder. But the counter argument is that mob violence and hate crimes, they don't just amount to any other act of murder, because such acts of violence are being perpetuated on the lines of religion, caste, and other social divides. Hence, the proponents of such a law have argued that there should be a dedicated legislation to deal with mob lynchings and hate crimes. In fact, in 2017, the National Crime Records Bureau collected data on such incidents, but later it was not published and it was discontinued, as the NCRB said that these crimes are not legally defined and the data collected was found to be unreliable. So few state governments like Manipur, Rajasthan and others took matter into their own hands, following an order of the Supreme Court in 2018, which asked the Parliament to make lynching a separate offence. So they enacted their own state legislations, but these laws have been put on hold by the centre, as it is examining these laws on 3 grounds. It is examining whether the state laws are repugnant with existing central laws. It is reviewing whether the state laws are in deviation from national or central policy, and also on the grounds of legal and constitutional validity. The bills passed by state legislatures of Manipur and Rajasthan in particular have been reserved by the respective state governors for the consideration of the President, and the Union Home Ministry has argued that there is no need for separate state laws like these, as the centre is planning to completely review and overhaul the Indian Penal Code, which is of colonial origin. The Home Ministry has even constituted a committee for reforms in criminal laws, which is reviewing and updating the Indian Penal Code and the Code of Criminal Procedure, and the government has said that mob lynching and hate crimes would also be examined by this committee. This topic was taken up for discussion because we have an article in today's The Hindu that makes a reference to the anti-lynching bills of Manipur and Rajasthan and the stand of the centre against these bills. Now let's look at the second question. Which of the following statements are correct? Dictionary of Martyrs of India's Freedom Struggle was commissioned by the Ministry of Culture to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Uprising of 1857. It contains an account of the martyrs from India's first war of Indian independence in 1857 to India's eventual independence in 1947. It was compiled by the Indian Council of Historical Research. All the 3 given statements are correct, so option D is the right answer. See, we have an article in today's The Hindu that makes a reference to the Dictionary of Martyrs of India's Freedom Struggle. According to the article, MPs in the Parliament have asked the Home Ministry as to why freedom fighters like Bhagat Singh, Sukhdev and Rajguru and the others have not been given the martyr status in this dictionary that was compiled by the Indian Council of Historical Research after the project was commissioned by the Ministry of Culture. This dictionary was brought out to commemorate the 150th anniversary of the First War of Indian Independence, and it compiles a list of Indian martyrs who gave up their lives during India's freedom struggle between 1857 and 1947. It specifically documents those martyrs who gave up their lives in action or in detention, or those who were awarded capital punishment while participating in India's freedom struggle. It specifically includes the former soldiers of Indian National Army or ex-military personnel who died fighting against the British, and it focuses on specific events like the 1857 uprising, Jallianwala Bagh massacre, the non-cooperation movement, civil disobedience movement, Quit India movement, revolutionary movements, Kisan movements, tribal movements, agitations and rebellions that were seen in princely states, the Indian National Army under Subhash Chandra Bose, and Royal Indian Naval Uprising of 1946. So, by covering such specific incidents, around 13,500 freedom fighters have been recognized as martyrs under this dictionary. In response to these questions in the Parliament, the Home Ministry has replied that revolutionary freedom fighters like Bhagat Singh, Sukhdev, and Rajguru are far above any award or title or status. And it has also pointed out that their names have been recorded in the dictionary by the Ministry of Culture. Now, let's look at the third question. Foreign funding restrictions on NGOs are placed under which law? Foreign Contribution Regulations Act, Prevention of Money Laundering Act, Reserve Bank of India Act, or Coffee POSA, or the Conservation of Foreign Exchange and Prevention of Smuggling Activities Act? The correct answer is option A. It is under the FCRA of 2010, which was amended in 2020, that restrictions are placed on foreign funding to entities and institutions based out of India, including NGOs. This topic comes up for discussion because we have a related article in the Hindu that refers to the restrictions on foreign funding that India has placed on an NGO known as Oxfam under the provisions of FCRA. After India restricted foreign funding to Oxfam under FCRA, the United Kingdom had sought a response from India, as it has been alleged that the government of India is curbing NGOs and their activities by restricting their foreign funding by misusing FCRA provisions. But in response to these concerns raised by United Kingdom, India has briefed UK as to on what grounds India restricted funding to NGOs like Oxfam. India has pointed out that Oxfam did not meet the renewal criteria that has been laid out under FCRA provisions, and on these legal grounds, foreign funding to such NGOs are being curbed as per the provisions of FCRA. Now let's look at the fourth question. Which of the following statements are correct? The International Solar Alliance was launched by Prime Minister Modi ahead of the 2015 Paris Summit of the Climate Change Convention. Its membership has been limited to only those countries that fall within the tropics. The alliance has partnered with the World Bank to launch the Global Solar Atlas. See, the International Solar Alliance was launched as an ambitious initiative by Prime Minister Modi along with France ahead of the 2015 Paris Summit of the Climate Change Convention. The primary objective of this proposed alliance was to exploit the solar potential of the sunshine countries, which lie either completely or partly between the two tropics, that is the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn. So initially, only those countries which fell in between the tropics were admitted as members. But however, in 2020, India decided to expand the membership of ISA, and it has opened up the International Solar Alliance for all UN member states. So now, even those countries located outside the tropics can apply for membership, and they get to enjoy the same rights as that of other members. But however, these countries located outside the tropics will not get voting rights. Today, this alliance has got more than 100 members who have signed the framework agreement, and more than 80 countries have already ratified the agreement as well. So this makes the second statement incorrect. But the third statement happens to be correct because the International Solar Alliance has partnered with the World Bank to come out with a global solar atlas that identifies the solar hotspots of the world. So the correct answer would be option C, 1 and 3 only. This question was taken up because we have an article in the Hindu that refers to India's solar capacity and solar potential, and it also makes a reference to the International Solar Alliance. Now let's look at a question from the 2019 prelims paper. In India, the use of carbofuran, methylparathion, forate, and trizophos is viewed with apprehension. These chemicals are used as pesticides in agriculture, preservatives in processed foods, fruit ripening agents, moisturizing agents in cosmetics. The correct answer is option A. All the chemicals mentioned here are used as common pesticides in agriculture for various crops, and they've all raised a lot of concerns as they are highly toxic. In fact, there has been a call to ban many of these chemicals, and in the state of Kerala, some of them have been banned as well. So these are extremely toxic pesticides which are used in agriculture. So option A is the right answer. Now coming to the fact of the day, let's look at this explained article from the Indian Express, which deals with India's draft medical devices policy. The Government of India has proposed a new policy known as the National Policy for Medical Devices 2022, which has been brought out by the Department of Pharmaceuticals under the Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers. Through this policy, India aims to reduce its import dependency on high-end medical devices. The policy is proposing a public-private partnership approach to reduce the cost of healthcare, to improve efficiency and aid quality improvement in medical devices manufacturing, as India happens to be import dependent, especially for high-end medical devices. According to data offered by the government, nearly 80% of the medical devices used in the healthcare sector are imported. And most of the imported medical devices are high-end expensive medical devices. Until now, domestic and indigenous production of medical devices has only focused on low-cost and low-tech products, thereby creating a bigger market for high-value medical devices that are imported from foreign countries. So through this new policy, the government is aiming to boost India's medical device industry, and it aims to reduce India's import dependency in this sector from the current 80% to nearly 30% in the next decade. It proposes to make India one of the top 5 global manufacturing hubs for medical devices by 2047. In fact, until now, India's medical device industry and the pricing of these devices was regulated as per the provisions of Drugs and Cosmetics Act of 1940. But the medical device industry was lobbying with the government for a dedicated specific policy for the sector. And finally, the proposed draft policy fulfills this long-standing demand. This draft national policy for medical devices will focus on incentivizing core technologies and also on incentivizing exports of these devices through tax refunds and rebates, and will create a single window clearance system for licensing for medical device manufacturing in the country. It also seeks to establish a dedicated mechanism through which the local medical device manufacturing industry can engage closely with global regulatory agencies in order to meet their standards. It also proposes to mandate the medical technology firms in India to invest at least 50% of their capital in research and development to enable India to become the global hub for manufacturing of medical devices. So with this, let's conclude our discussion for today. Thanks for watching.